Yeah, my name is Mörtl. I'm an architecture student at TU Vienna, and the first course I attended at ATTP was a design course actually. It was called No Ghost, held by Via Medina and Benjamin Reynolds in 2017, so it's quite a while ago. And it was actually the first course for me coming back from a long period of just working after my bachelor studies. And I wanted a course where theory and a design course is intervened. And actually my expectations were totally fulfilled. So it was really a journey into a total new world. Also Vera Bühlmann was showing us. And actually my own design practice changed via this course. So I'm still influenced from this semester actually. Actually, I think I would personally now combine it with one of the modules at ATTP, because then it's much richer. And at this time there were no new module from ATTP. It was still in the making because it was all quite new. But I could recommend to all master students to get one semester of the full package, so the module and the design course all together, because then you can really enjoy it and embrace it. Yeah, I think I should talk about this design course from 2017. I'm actually now doing my diploma at ATTP too, but first I want to talk about No Ghost. So it was a design studio which had a quite interesting brief. I couldn't figure out in the beginning what was the brief, so there was a brief in the making, let's say. And one of the questions was information as material, material as information. So this was actually the two lines that triggered me. And I did a project thinking about automation and the human scale in automation, and searched for a site to do it. And I did a project in Delphi, Greece. I couldn't know that this location had many connections to many thoughts that Vera had at this time too. So it was quite fruitful, and we got very close in touch about the matters around Delphi. And actually I chose Delphi because the priests at Delphi could gather information at a time where it wasn't available to everybody, and they could make decisions out of this information that were really unique, because everybody traveled to Delphi to talk with the oracle, and actually it was really a unique place. So I thought, why not doing a project in Delphi? And I tried to discover all these layers in Delphi from history, because right now it's an ancient site, but there have even been a village built over this ancient site during, I think, the Ottoman period in Greece. So it is quite an interesting site from an archaeological standpoint, but also with this background from the old ancient city. It's quite an interesting place. What I figured out are new ways of designing, so not to try to search for a theory, but to start with a statement, like to search for automation, for the human scale in automation, like to start with this sentence and then do a design, was a total new approach for me at this time. Because at TU, I think the usual method is, this is the task, and try to figure out something, and in the end there is a nice project, but there is not really a hypothesis around. And this I really enjoyed, and this I embraced also in my practice. So actually I'm doing small projects in Vienna, so I'm building and writing, and I can really use this in my everyday work. So yeah, this is really something nice out of a design course, I think. We had different tasks during this design course, so it was not design a design project and come every week with your sketches, and then we do a pin-up together. It was more like, for example, search for a material that never existed. It was really called like this. And to do material experiments, I didn't do this since the beginning of my bachelor studies, actually. In the beginning, I thought, what can come out of this? But to touch a material again and to think not in a haptic sense about it, but to try to find information in this material or in the process to get this new material was quite interesting. And you can do this. I do this now with really banal materials. For example, I do now an interior in Vienna where I try to use wood in a different way. Not in this decorative way where you see a nice wooden surface, but really to think, how is this wood in particular grown? What can you do with it? How can I combine it with materials that are not that usually combined with it? So I try to translate it. Of course, it's not that free because you have to cope with clients and budgets and stuff like this. But yeah, I think it's in part really driven still by this material that never existed. Although wood, of course, is existing, but you can think it in different ways. So this is really something. And also what really opened a new world, I see these bookshelves in the background. There is a whole new section of literature and philosophy that I knew that is there, but I never discovered like this. Since my time at ATTP, there's really a new cosmos actually of new stuff, and I'm still digging. So there's a lot of new stuff every week still, and yeah, it's a little bit like studying philosophy in parallel sometimes, but yeah, this is also an outcome actually, and I really enjoy it. For example, I have a professor from University of Vienna now as a client, and she is a scientist actually. And if you really can talk about the things you do and not just show, look, this is a beautiful material because I think it's beautiful, like it would usually be, and you can really have a background in talking about it, so you have a position you can formulate, it's easier to transport the fascination. But of course, it's not always. Sometimes they say it's too playful, for example, because it's experimental. And yeah, to build is also something optimistic, I think. This is a kind of motto. But for some people, it's just a conservative thing because they have a limited budget and they need a shelf. So it's not always experimental for them. They think more straight, but I think to think straight in this case is not always the best. So yeah, it depends on the client actually, but you have to search for the good ones. I started my diploma research 3 years ago actually. It's still ongoing. It's a project about scale, very general speaking, and also the history of scales, and was triggered by the redefinition of the kilogram actually 2 years ago, where it was had a new definition via the Planck constant, which is a new ball game actually. It's not with, defined with an artifact any longer, it's defined with a formula which can be calculated and can be more and more exactly calculated. So it's a work in progress. It gets more digits every year. And this is quite interesting for me. And it's still ongoing. So I have these small building projects I'm doing and do my research in parallel. And I don't have a time schedule, which is good and bad at the same time. So you have enough space for yourself, but to have a point where you work to, like a time date would be nice sometimes.